Yes.
Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Mr. Jones?
Yes.
Mrs. Love?
Yes.
Yes.
Some feedback.
All right, Mr. Bowden?
On October 1st, a Peatone School Board member posted a statement that, in my opinion, was largely dependent on AI. The post was submitted to AI detectors. The detectors reported the text was largely AI generated. Quoting from the writer's post, "It is disheartening to see instances where social media has been used in ways that are divisive, disrespectful, or inconsistent with the values we strive to instill in our students. Our children learn from examples set by the adults around them, especially those in leadership positions." That's a quote from the writer's post. I believe AI was used to formulate the writer's response to a board member's post, which the writer did not agree with. The writer used A1 instead of using her own original thought process to voice her disagreement with her colleague. It is actions like those of the writer, especially when the person is in a leadership position, that teach students it is all right to cut corners or cheat. I have copies of the AI detectives report if anyone would like to see them. One report says 97.61 AI. Another report said 86% AI. Handwritten referral or, no, human written 14%. Pretty sad. The other one said AI, let's see, it was 82% generated. Anybody want to report? I also have the original AI doctored post by the board member. Anybody want that? Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Bowden. Mr. Chapman? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, good evening. So with so much of the recent budget talk focused on the expense side, I wanted to take a few minutes this evening to speak to the other side of the budget conversation, which is our revenue. First, I'd like just to point out a few things about our local community here. Note that these figures that I'll report on come from the Illinois State Report Card and reflect the 23-24 school year, which is the most recent data that's publicly available. At over $106,000, Peatone ranks highest in median household income compared to our surrounding school districts: Crete-Monee, Beecher, Grant Park, Manteno, and Bloomington. 14.5% of our students qualify for free or reduced lunch in this school year. This can vary from year to year, but Peatone typically has the fewest number of low-income students in all surrounding districts. This is important when you consider that a lot of federal funding is directed towards districts based on the number of low-income students involved. Interestingly, at 3.64%, our tax rate is also the lowest of all of our neighbors. In fact, Peatone traditionally ranks in the bottom 10% of all Illinois school districts when it comes to the lowest tax rates to fund its education system. And this includes the debt service, which is about 0.4%. We are over a point below the state average and well below Crete-Monee, Beecher, and Manteno. You can also see that our equalized assessed valuation per pupil is way, way outsized when compared to our surrounding districts. At $370,000 per pupil, this is more than twice the state average and much higher than any of our surrounding communities. You may think this is because we have lots of acreage and really high property values. You may be tempted to believe that this means we can afford a lower tax rate. But the real paradox here is that this actually is a reflection of the number of households in our community that do not currently have children enrolled in the school district. This is important to consider. So let's take a look at the next page and figure out how this impacts our local revenue. So you can see in 23-24, we brought in the highest local tax revenue per student at $14,000 per student. But since the economics of our community are so strong, we do not qualify for state funding like districts around us. And with the lower number of high-need students, we receive less federal funding than surrounding districts. So when taking all revenue sources together, we are among the lowest of our peers in overall total revenue per student. The simple fact of the matter is that our students are not being resourced as well as our neighbors. Now here's the historical chart showing the year-over-year deficits in the school district. This comes from a prior director or prior business manager. We all know these deficits extend further back in these years. And if you can look at this chart and you can tell me that all of this is because of waste, abuse, or poor management, then you may need to reflect a little bit. Because maybe, just maybe, this chart shows a picture of a district whose revenue is misaligned with its needs. Even the state of Illinois thinks so. So the last chart there, this is real receipts as a percentage of local capacity. This comes from the Illinois State Report Card and shows how much each district is actually bringing in compared to its local capacity. In other words, it's how much we are contributing as a community versus how much we can afford as a community. And once again, you can see Peatone is dead last. So as we continue with these budget discussions, and as my fellow community members take this into consideration, I'd like to point out a few other things as it relates to referendums. As best I can tell, the last referendum that actually passed this district was in 2006, and it was to increase the district's debt limit to $12.2 million. This community literally voted to increase the credit card limit, officially endorsing this policy of working cash bonds that everyone is now arguing against. Peatone voted for that instead of voting to increase the taxes that we pay to offset the deficits that we have historically and continue to experience. Is anyone even aware of the last time that we actually increased our educational funding? So, bringing this back around, as I wrap up here, I've heard a lot of comparisons to household budgets over the last few months. So I'd like you to think about what a 1990s salary looks like. And I'd like you to think about what things cost back then. Now think about the costs of everything today. And if you were still living on that same salary from the 1990s with just the minimal cost of living increases each year, do you think it would be easier or harder to balance your household budget? Because that's what is being asked. So I will leave you this proverb that I like to reflect on as I get older. It says, "A society grows great when old men plant trees whose shade they know they will never sit in." I wish we could start thinking more in this community about how we plant more trees instead of how we cut the forest down.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Maxidon?
So, interesting follow-up. Does anybody off the top of their head remember what the last referendum value was that was not passed?
I couldn't speak to the numbers, I'd have to pull it up.
I believe it was about 2.4 million. And the comment that I wanted to make this evening was I believe Mr. Owens gave a response to the statement that Jim Bowden gave at the last meeting, and he referred to the success of the district over the last 20 years utilizing working cash bonds. I've heard a lot of talk over those last several months about the referendum failing and whose fault it was and how if it would have passed it would solve our problems. So I believe right now we are about 4.8 million in arrears of our funding to expense. The referendum, if memory serves me correctly, is only 2.4 that failed, which tells me that if the district had gotten what it asked for, we would still be overspending by double of what you asked for. It's no secret to all of you, but you know I'm being interviewed tonight because I did put my name in the hat to join you all. It's also no secret that some of you probably dislike me very much, but the truth is a lot of you don't know me. A lot of you don't know why I have been invested in this school district for as long as I have, and that has been since my junior year of high school, when the ag program was attempted to be cut through a backdoor effort. And I have been invested in the inner workings of the school since then because I don't like to see education cut. The people that believe I am against funding the school district are dead wrong. The perception of who I am has been greatly mistaken for a long time. And the fact of the matter is, I hate waste. And I believe there is a way that this district could be funded, and I have made the promise to Mr. Owens before this seat even opened, that if I could agree with the way things were being run, to your point, I would help to support that with the community. But I am not willing to do so if I don't agree with the way business is run. And so, outside of the interview, I'd like to offer you tonight that if I am to join the team, and I can help you get to the point where I feel good about the way the district is being managed, so we're not living on a credit card, but we're also not cutting what the students need, I pledge my support to help you. But if the district continues to operate in a way where you attempt to raise a referendum for $2.4 million and then overspend by 4.8, I also pledge to you to continue being a bump in the road, because it's just not running properly. Both can be achieved. You can bring excellence to the district without sticking your hands in the pockets of the people in town by saying that everyone can afford to give you more, because frankly, that's not their business. It's not.
State's
This, we all know how well the state is at managing money. So that's all I've got to say.
Madam Chair, I do have a question for Adrian. Is it normal in Illinois for school districts to use working cash bonds for their operating costs?
This was actually the first time I've heard of a school district utilizing working cash bonds to fund operations. But I can't speak to the other 800
Right.
school districts and their funding mechanisms. That's each school district has their own unique stance on how they fund.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, report number 5, approval of the prior committee meetings. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, Mr. Valentino.
We are pressed for time here, so I apologize if I'm going through the presentation quick, so feel free to stop me if you have any questions along the way. First thing we have on here is the 2025 tax levy. So a few levy assumptions that we have going on. Last year, the district was extended without debt service just over $14.8 million. With CPI at 2.9, the district will receive a 2.9% increase on the 2024 extension. Preliminary values from the assessor show that EAV, equalized assessed value, is projected to increase by roughly 11.85%, with an estimated EAV of $591 million. New construction is just over $8.8 million, with a total estimated EAV at 600, 400. Estimated operating tax rate 2.5757. Our existing debt service is just under $2 million. Doesn't include any further working cash bond issuances, with an estimated bond and interest tax rate at 0.3324, with an estimated total tax rate at 2.9081. When we put all those numbers into the calculation provided to us, the projected extension limit, since the school district is a P-TEL school district, so property tax extension limiting law is in effect. The district is expected to receive $15,464,566. That's the anticipated limit, anticipated levy outside of debt service, based on the figures provided to us by the assessor. It's always common, it's best practice, since we're working with assumptions, we're working with estimated numbers. The assessor doesn't have all of the figures, all of the appeals, all of the exemptions. for us, so it's best practice to ask for more than what we anticipate we're going to receive to ensure that the district captures everything it is owed. So the district will levy with debt service $17.65 million with a projected extension with their debt service at $17.46 million. So roughly $200,000 difference, enough of a buffer for me to feel comfortable and recommend this so that we capture everything the district is owed based on the assumptions we have. Here we have it broken down by fund. So in the blue column there, we have the 2024 levy, or extension, sorry. And in the green columns there, we have the projected extension and what we refer to as the balloon levy. So again, we project that we will receive $15.46 million without debt service, but the district will levy for $15.65 or $66 million to ensure it captures everything. And then here we have the tax levy calendar. So today we're reviewing the tentative tax levy presentation. Since the district will be asking for or levying for more than 5%, the district will need to hold a truth in taxation hearing in which we will need to publish a public notice in the Vedette and on the website. Can't be more than 14 days, no more than 7 days prior to the hearing. The numbers were close enough here in where we were close to that 5%. So we're going to be levying for just over 5% and filing for the truth in taxation as well to ensure we're compliant with the state. So at the November board meeting, we will be taking this to the board so that way they approve the tentative tax levy and the certificate to adopt the levy at the December 15th board meeting. The deadline to file the tax levy with the county clerks is December 30th, 2025, which is on the last Tuesday in December. And then in March, April timeframe, we expect to receive the final extension reports from the county. Any questions regarding the tax levy?
No.
Okay. We move on to the next point here of the working cash fund issuance. So since the voter approved referendum in March of, I believe it was 2004, which increased the debt service extension base to just over $2.4 million, the district has relied on working cash bond proceeds as the primary mechanism to offset structural budget deficits and maintain operations. So this temporary strategy has provided the district with the necessary liquidity for 2 decades. As discussed previously, the district is expecting a $4 million deficit this current school year. We will be using the remaining proceeds from the 2024 working cash bond proceeds to partially offset this deficit, which is roughly $2.5 million. However, the district will need to issue another series of working cash bonds to fully offset the deficit. So we put a working cash flow analysis here together for us so that we can see what our cash flow would look like without a working cash bond issuance. So in the February of 2027, and I believe I've already presented this document to the board and committee. February of 2027, the district is expected to go under its $1 million liquidity, and it's expected that again at the end of 2027 fiscal year, we will be $3.8 million in the red. And that is without a working cash bond issuance, and this also excludes the 2023 working cash bond proceeds and Fund 60 expenditures. So that $4.8 million, roughly, that the district still has for the potential baseball, softball fields for the high school is not included in here. So this is our existing debt service, which shows that the district does have margin remaining to issue another series of working cash bonds. And this is our existing debt service on bonds. So roughly $450,000 in margin available all the way through levy year 2029, where the 2024 series falls off. So if the district were to issue another working cash bond with proceeds up to $4.85 million, this is what it would look like. So estimated true interest costs would be roughly 5%. with an estimated debt service cost of $6.57 million. The final payment, as it applies to the levy year, would be in levy year 2033, with an estimated bond and interest impact to levy year 2025 of roughly 0.073 cents. The estimated impact on the medium home value here of roughly $360,000 would be roughly $92 increase. Now that is an estimate, and it assumes that the homeowner applies for the homeowner's exemption and then has a 2% assessment on their home value. So as you can see in the green column there where it says remaining margin, by issuing these working cash bonds, the district will be maxing out its debt service extension base. There won't be any more capacity to issue another set of working cash bonds until the levy year 2032. Now, cash flow analysis with a working cash bond issuance shows that the district, at its lowest point in fiscal year 2027, will be at $1 million. This does include the 2026 budget reductions, but it doesn't include anything beyond that at this time. And then the lowest point that the district will be in cash flow-wise in red will be June 21st of 2028, and would be roughly $4.8 million. And again, here's another graph depicting how we would be maximizing the debt service extension base with no available debt service extension base or no margin through levy year 2032. And then here would be the proposed timeline, and where district would need 3 board meetings essentially to issue working cash bonds. So at the November 17th board meeting, the board would have to adopt a resolution of intent and also a resolution calling for public hearing. At the December meeting, it would have to hold a bond issue notification hearing, and then at the January 21st board meeting, adopt a parameters resolution with the expectation of receiving proceeds in February. So I know I went over that really quick, but I know we're past your time here. Are there any questions?
Can you just jump back to cash flow analysis?
Yeah.
And can you jump back to the one without bond issues? What are the consultants, or what are you seeing as far as trends on interest rates?
It's always wishy-washy depending on what you're hearing. I anticipate there being another interest rate cut at some point, but I'm not sure when that's going to come. And the numbers that we're using here are conservative. I don't expect it to be as high. However, the market is so volatile, it can change between now and when we're actually issuing working cash bonds. So roughly 3 or 4 months out, it could change.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Do we have anything else for the community?
Administration does not.
All right. Can I ask for a motion to adjourn the committee meeting?
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.